Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah! Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable. Banana 19.
Beat Rob, Jim, Packard, J. King.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The Caesar on the court to get another ring.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
Everybody in the chat now sing.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah!
Daddy's always had what it is.
Welcome back to Still Poddable, the best Boston Celtics podcast here on Al Gore's internet. He's an Atari Democrat, folks, and we're Atari Democrats here celebrating the Celtics' victory over the Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs. Their 7th victory in their last 8 games. The Earn with Meat Celtics have returned, and Jason will return. I don't know if they've arrived because I don't know if they were a thing before, but Jason Tatum was absolutely fantastic tonight, folks. He continues his stretch of just dominant basketball. Really, it's been this last week where he's really excelled in the game against the Knicks, the Heat, and then again tonight. I'm sorry, I got so excited. I forgot to introduce myself, forgot to introduce producer Sean Gauthier. I'm Sam Jam Packard, folks. I'm here. I'm on the Poddable postgame. This is what we do on Still Poddable. We're on Monday through Friday Celtics podcast. We are available on Patreon, patreon.com/stillpoddable. You guys are lucky because this is the free episode. We do one free episode a week. And so for folks out there, you can watch live on Twitter just like any Poddable postgame. But then this is the free episode, give you a little bit of taste of what we do. And that also means we're brought to you by the fine folks at Prizepicks, and we're on the CLNS YouTube page. So you'll hear me talk about Prizepicks in a little bit. But, Sean, how are you doing? Just saying hi. I haven't checked in yet. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I got back from Quebec City like 2 days ago.
Quebecois!
Oui. And yeah, it's warm here. It feels like warm and nice. It was freezing up there, as it often is.
Didn't it snow a bunch recently in Boston?
It did while I was in Quebec also getting snowed on. So I had to clean off my car today. I kind of forgot that had happened. But yeah.
Well, Sean, in case you missed it, the story of tonight's game really was the first quarter. I mean, the Celtics outscored the Spurs 37-19, and so built up this 18-point lead. And then the rest of the game, the Spurs just didn't have a minute to really make a run or really cut this game. I think the closest they got it was 6. But it was just an absolute dominant performance from Jason Tatum in that first quarter. He had 14 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. The Celtics were solid on the offensive glass. They had 4 offensive rebounds there. Just got some second chance points. Turned the Spurs over a couple times, got 5 points off turnovers there. Did a really solid job of, despite Wemby existing, there was still a bunch of Kristaps post-ups. Like they did Wemby was guarding Al Horford on occasion, and they did a good job of finding Kristaps on matchups otherwise. And I just thought the Celtics really excelled tonight. And Jason Tatum is just playing absolutely fantastic basketball right now, just completely dominating. And as soon as Wemby went to the bench, boom, they just absolutely took off. It kind of continued in the second quarter. And anytime Wemby was on the bench and Jason Tatum was in the game, it was just an absolute domination by the Celtics. There was just really nothing the Spurs could do in this one.
I love to hear that.
Yeah, no, it was
good news.
It was a fun time. We also had the debut of Torrey Craig, or as chat has dubbed him, Scory Torrey, which I think is a fantastic nickname. Shout out to Gambling Grant for Scory Torrey. I believe Michael invented Scory Torrey of Michael and Tuna. But Torrey Craig made his debut, knocked down 2 threes, had some nice steals. Just a solid debut from him. It's exactly what you want from him. He knocked down 2 open threes, played some solid defense, I guess. I say he played solid defense. He had 1 steal, and that was good enough for me. He only played 8 minutes. He was a +2, but he knocked down his 2 shots, and he had an assist. He had a very actually cool assist, passing the ball in a kind of a touch pass to Peyton Pritchard in the corner. And so it was just an all-around solid performance by the Celtics, who I was actually talking about this a little bit. Terrible time for the All-Star break. They're playing the best basketball they've played all season long. They are 7 out of their last 8, as I mentioned. Jason Tatum's on an absolute tear, just multiple games over 30 points, scoring with ease from all 3 levels, distributing the basketball, passing the basketball. That actually means the same thing as distributing the basketball. I meant to say rebounding as well. Like Derek White has kind of come back and is playing aggressively, not only taking shots anytime someone goes under his screens, but getting to the rim or at least getting into the paint and taking some floaters. Kristaps Porzingis seems to be back in the flow of things. They're doing this all without Jaylen Brown and Jrue Holiday, which is interesting. But it's just they feel to be, I'm not going to say they're peaking too early because maybe they'll peak for the rest of the season, but they're definitely, in terms of what they've done this year, this last stretch since basically the end of January, they've been playing just their best basketball.
Yeah, I was talking about this with B-Rob a couple of nights ago, but like after February, after January, which was like pretty bleak, December was pretty bleak, right? Like the team feels like they're getting back to themselves, and like that's we were talking about the bench in the Heat game, and I missed a ton of this game. Talk to me about the bench in this game while I plug in my laptop so it doesn't die.
The bench was solid again, but I think Scal said this on the broadcast. At this point, you can put any 4 guys around Jason Tatum, and it's gonna be a pretty solid lineup, which is kind of returning to what the dominance was last year. But with Jaylen Brown out and Jrue Holiday out, we're seeing a bit of experimentation from Joe Mazzulla. For some reason, Shireman played again. He was in it. He was got a solid 5 minutes. He was a +1. He got a rebound. Then we saw Torrey Craig. But like the bench lineup, what I like to call the Dulce de Leche, the Tres Leches bros, and Al Horford with Jason Tatum, I thought was just continues to be strong tonight, and especially against the Spurs team with no bench. The Spurs have an extremely talented, I would say, 4 guys. Wemby obviously is fantastic. De'Aaron Fox is good. I really like Devin Vassell, and I think Stephon Castle's pretty good. Keldon Johnson has some moments. Chris Paul's a guy. I used to really like Harrison Barnes, but it's like a decent team, but they just don't have a strengthened bench. And I think that's where the Celtics really play well, is when other teams go to their bench, we go to Tatum and the Dulce de Leche or any sort of bench lineups, and that's where we can kind of build this lead and really dominate. And so that's what the Celtics did last year. That's what they're doing this year or returned to. And so I thought the bench played pretty solid tonight. I'm going to go to a legend of Still Poddable, the highest tier of fans, of subscribers here, Joshua B., well-known, local celebrity.
Thank you for such a wonderful introduction. I actually have some questions right off the bat for Jam Packer, right away.
Let's hear him.
So I heard you talking a little bit about Torrey Craig, and
Torrey?
Torrey, that's fine. We'll call him that, but I have some questions for you. Because I heard the intro. I heard the intro. By the way, you too can hear the intro, whether you are catching it here on YouTube or whether you are a member of the Still Poddable chat and community. You can sign up right now on patreon.com, become a kid, become a god, become a legend. But whatever you do, be sure to be in the chat during Celtics games to get the best analysis from any Celtics fans that you can find. There's literally nothing better. Not even if you were in section 311 with Aiden tonight. best Celtics analysis that you can possibly get. My question for you, Jim, and I'm going to sort of go back and forth with you on this, as opposed to just going on mute and waiting for your answers, because I wanted to say that I heard the intro to the...
I'll allow it.
Thank you. I heard the intro to your description of Torrey Craig, and I want to ask, what do you expect from Sam Hauser? Do you expect, like, say, just in general, game to game, do you expect, a couple of threes? Does that sound, what you would like in the general idea from Sam Hauser?
I expect 3 threes from Sam Hauser and solid defense.
And that's so different from what you expect from, say, Torrey Craig.
I expect 1.5 threes from Torrey Craig and solid defense.
Well, I saw essentially the same player last night tonight when they were on the floor. Like, they weren't on the floor together, but to me, I saw the same player. I saw the same impact. I saw the same kind of defense. I saw the same kind of role. And I dubbed him, and I'm pretty sure, I don't think this is racist, but whatever.
I'll rule on it. Let's hear it.
I called him Black Hauser because Sam Hauser is white, Torrey Craig is black, and I meant as a compliment. I meant that sincerely as a compliment.
Why can't Torrey Craig be white, or no, he would be Black Hauser. Why can't Sam Hauser be Black Craig?
I called Sam Hauser white.
White Craig. Yeah, Black Craig would never make any sense.
No, there's analysis for that. I'll answer the question. The reason that I didn't call him White Craig is because Hauser has been on the team all year, and Torrey Craig just got here, right? So I haven't had a frame of reference for what Torrey Craig is because I haven't been watching wherever he came from. But I'm glad that he's here right now.
I'm calling Hauser. Hauser is now is white Torrey from now on.
White Torrey, white story Torrey, white Craig.
I like white Torrey.
I noticed that everybody was plus that touched the floor today. We had no negative people.
Can I answer your question as trying to escape the cross-racial comparisons of Torrey Craig and Sam Hauser, just talking about their basketball games right now?
Yeah.
I agree with you in terms of results. I think they're different players because Torrey Craig is a spot-up 3 guy, whereas Sam Hauser, I feel, is much more dangerous and puts much more of a kind of distress on opposing defenses because he's constantly moving. He's a guy you're going to call a play for and run around on a screen and a curl, and you kind of have to pay attention to him, whereas Torrey Craig is a guy who hangs out in the corner. And so I agree with you that I think Torrey Craig's debut has been years better than what Jay King, that idiot, thought it would be. But I think Sam Hauser, he's the type of guy who, and I think we saw it tonight with an excellent Jason Tatum pass in transition. He's the type of guy you are looking for in transition as an offensive player, and the type of guy, if you're playing defense against the Celtics, you have to know immediately where Sam Hauser is because of his movement and his ability to move without the basketball. I don't necessarily see that from Torrey Craig so far, but I think that's just why you kind of have Hauser is who he is and is kind of higher on the pecking order and has played a bunch of games this season, whereas Torrey Craig only played 9 in Chicago before coming here to Boston.
Well, so I'll ask you this question then, Sean, because I don't spend a lot of time watching the Chicago Bulls for good reason, for my
Sean does. Sean's our Chicago Bulls expert.
Big Chicago Bulls guy.
I don't think Sean is going to know much about the Chicago Bulls, but other than what I sort of know about the Chicago Bulls, which is that they suck. And do you think that Torrey Craig being on a much better team like the Boston Celtics, who run a professional basketball team, who run a professional offense, who know how to play defense, is going to evolve into more of a Sam Hauser role? Or do you think that it's just going to be hanging out in the corner? I remember Sam Hauser back when he did used to just spot up. I mean, that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we would just run isolation spot ups. And now he is the mover that Jam Packard is describing. Is he that mover because Sam Hauser has just worked on his game and now is all of a sudden this mover without the ball? Or is it
call him a mover and a shaker?
Yeah, I'm going to call him a mover and a shaker.
Cool.
Or is it because he plays on a professional offense that he has evolved into that role?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you think about it, if you're playing on the court and you're part of the bench group with Jason Tatum, right? Tatum's getting all the attention. Tatum's going to draw two most of the time. Teams love stupidly double teaming Jason Tatum. And so, and even without Tatum, right? Like if it's Jaylen Brown, like on this team, Torrey Craig is never going to be the number one option. And so he's going to get more open looks, right? And like, that's going to be helpful for him. It was helpful for Hauser in the early Hauser days when he was a two-way guy and teams would basically just ignore him for a while. And you know, it's going to make it an easier game for him. And yeah, and part of that is because the Celtics are a professional basketball team. And Josh B says that the Chicago Bulls are amateur and bad.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I don't know about amateur. I think there are one of 30 professional sports basketball franchises in the men's department of basketball playing. What I have to say is that a rising tide is good for all the boats, is I believe what the saying is so no matter what, anyone who plays on the Celtics is going to get the Celtics bump. And so it's a great opportunity for Torrey Craig, who's shown himself to be a productive 3-and-D guy on, I think, the Suns in the past as a playoff team. I think he can come in. They needed depth at the wing, and so he can come in and provide that depth at the wing. Do I think at this point Torrey Craig is going to be playing a serious minutes in the playoffs? Probably not. If someone goes down and there's an injury, do I think Torrey Craig can step in and give them solid minutes? Based on the sample size of one game? Absolutely. Absolutely. He's done everything Torrey Craig, Scory Torrey, has needed to do so far. He has done, and I commend him for that.
But it's the same thing that we went back to with Keita, right? Which is that you're not in the playoffs right now. So, like, we're in the regular season. We're trying to get everybody to the regular season. And before I ask my last question, like, that's the role for Torrey Craig, right? Is that we're not in the playoffs. We're trying to get to the playoffs. We're trying to get back there either as the number one seed or or at least on a roll as the number 2 seed. And can Torrey Craig help with that? Can he get like 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 6 minutes there to help rest Jaylen Brown and Jrue Holiday? Like, yeah, I think that's a completely reasonable expectation for Torrey Craig. Before I ask my next question, I want to commend Gambling Grant for getting on the podcast, producing with Jam Packard and Sean and Jay and B-Rob, and actually giving another voice of the fans on the Still Poddable. And if you become a legend like myself and like Grant, you too can get actually on these podcasts. Don't let us be the only voices. Spend the extra little bit of
let me be
get up. Well, you know, I mean, you guys
I do this for attention.
Don't let us be the only voices of the fans. I'm speaking for Grant because I can do that. Don't let us be the only. Don't let us be the only fan voices on here. Get up here, express your opinion. I do have one other question.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, this is
final question.
This is it. Final question, but it is something that I am concerned about, and it's the one thing that I am worried about with the Celtics. I want to know if you sort of share the same concerns. And B-Rob is the cause of this. So, like, when you're looking, where did the cause come from? This came from B-Rob. I looked back on it, and unfortunately, I think that B-Rob is right to be concerned about Jrue Holiday. Over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, Jrue Holiday has offensively just hit a little bit of a dry spell. Yes, there have been the Jrue Holiday doing Jrue Holiday things here and there in the fourth quarters, and his defense is still outstanding. But there, just offensively, he's hit a dry spell after being king of the corner last year. I am of the opinion that Jrue Holiday played an absolutely instrumental role in our playoff run last year, that we would not have gotten past the Pacers without his stellar defense against Tyrese Haliburton. Yes, I know it's a huge claim, but what he did in the backcourt, trapping Tyrese Haliburton when he was playing that way, what he's able to do against the top guards of the league, and really what he's done ever since teaming up with Derek White to give us the best defensive backcourt in the league is not something that I think that Peyton Pritchard can replicate. As amazing as Peyton Pritchard is, as much of a dog defensively as he is, I do not think that Peyton Pritchard is the same level of defender as Jrue Holiday, particularly in a playoff situation. And so the question becomes, do you think that come playoff time, the Jrue Holiday that we had last year will show up? Or do you think that this is something problematic, and that especially the last 4 games with him just being off, just being completely absent from the lineup, is it something that the Celtics need to monitor and, need to work on him? Does he need the Al Horford treatment where it's just bubble wrap and maybe only 20 minutes a night? Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Josh B. I've had this gavel here for the entire season. This is the first time I've used it as a prop, and that's shocking to me. Jrue Holiday is obviously not having the same offensive year as he did last year, where he shot 43% from 3. I am not as concerned about it because last year he scored 12 points a game, and this year he's averaging 11 points a game. Like, at no point are they really reliant on Jrue Holiday's scoring for winning basketball games. I think Peyton Pritchard has really stepped up to alleviate, I guess, some of that scoring drop-off. In the playoffs, I think Jrue Holiday is going to show up, and you're just going to want his savvy veteran status there. I think, if his offense isn't really there, I think we've seen enough times where they've closed without him, and they have enough talented players where it might not be necessarily an issue. Also, given how successful double bigs have been for the team this year, if they go Horford, Kristaps, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they still have 5 two-way players. Obviously, it's not the same. It's a bit of a larger look, but my concern about Jrue Holiday is not for this season. My concern is that you gave Jrue Holiday a 4-year extension, and he's not going to get any better over the next kind of 3 seasons. But I think for this year, it's just not something I'm too worried about.
Yeah, and also just like you brought up the points per game. I'm also just looking at like field goal attempts per game, right? Like over this season and last season, his attempts are basically the same and his makes are basically the same. So I'm like, yeah, his shot from 3 hasn't been falling. Clearly, like math-wise, he's making his 2s and he's doing his job, right? Like, I feel like he and Derek have both had a couple of embarrassing missed layups lately that are sticking in the mind. But like you said, you don't bring on Jrue Holiday for the offense anyway, right? Like that's not exactly the point of him in this group. He's an enormous guard who can guard centers. Like he gets switched onto them very often, like down low, and does a good job. Like you want Jrue to like balance out that group, and he helps add the size to that starting lineup. So even if they're not doing double bigs, they're an enormous lineup. And when they are doing double bigs, like, you're not worried about it. And like, if Tatum's going to keep scoring the way he is, and Pritchard and Jaylen, and like, there's enough options in that starting lineup to keep a team dizzy. They don't, him not hitting as many 3s, I don't think will necessarily be, the end of the world for this team.
Yeah, and one of the things that really stood out about Jrue Holiday last year, especially during the playoffs, was like he wasn't necessarily just in that corner. They played him in the dunker spot a lot, especially against the Mavericks in the finals, and he was able to kind of take advantage of that. You still see him do that of just getting to the rim against much bigger players, even with his struggles this year. Obviously, would I prefer he shoot 43% from the 3 or be the best corner 3-point shooter in the league? Yes. Do I think that the Celtics are reliant on that level of 3-point shooting from him in order to make a deep playoff run? No, not on a team that has Jason Tatum playing this well, not on a team that has Jaylen Brown, Derek White, these double bigs. You also have Hauser, who's shooting the ball well. You also have Peyton Pritchard. And now you have Torrey, I guess, who's going to solve all of our problems. And so I'm not too concerned about Jrue Holiday. And I do think you'll see him in the rest of the season probably get the Al Horford treatment, where he's just like get as much time off as he needs to be so he's as healthy as possible for the playoffs. I have one more point, and then we'll get to the junk. But before we get to that last point, I need to tell you guys about our friends over at the Prizepicks. All-Star Weekend is here, and Prizepicks is the best place to win cash while watching your favorite players during the game and also during the Saturday night events like the three-point contest. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prizepicks. It's the best way to get in on the action in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. It's the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. All you have to do is pick higher or lower on a few different player props, and you can get up to 1,000 times your money. I may have dabbled a little bit in the Knicks game the other night, and I turned $50 into $200. And so that was pretty fun. And so if you want to have fun yourself, sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. And so it's just a fun little thing to do. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use promo code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game. Now, before we get to the junk, the Celtics played the Spurs tonight. And follow me on this one, Sean. The best player on the Spurs is Victor Wembanyama. He's an alien. He's extremely tall. Apparently, he was sick tonight because he was pedestrian. I mean, 17 points, 13 rebounds, but worst of all, no cool shit. Like he's absolutely huge. They said on the broadcast that he kept on like going to the table to wipe his nose. He must have been sick, but that's just kind of disappointing. You only get to see him play twice a year. It's the first time we've got to see him with De'Aaron Fox. And you know what? It was a little sad. You know what? You want to see the ultimate alien be like full alien, and he just was not full alien tonight. He didn't have his powers. It was like he was not a Monstar, but a Nerd Luck, if I will. And yes, a Nerd Luck is the name of the aliens before in Space Jam before they take the NBA players' powers, in case you guys didn't know.
Here's my question is, how is the league letting another tall French guy be sick with other players? Like last time this happened, the entire league shut down. We really got to keep an eye out for this All-Star game, see if it even happens now. Because
that's true. What if it's bird flu? Someone check the stool.
Yeah. Someone check his stool.
I think that's a perfect point to transition to the junk portion of the podcast. This is where, you watch the game, you have a lot of observations about the ball on the court, the game on the court, but then you have some observations about, other stuff going on. And tonight, Sean, I don't know, did you decide to watch ESPN or NBC Sports Boston?
Listened on the radio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you were saved from, and excuse my French, the visual mindfuck given to us by NBC Sports Boston. They, I'm trying to be loyal to my guy, Drew Carter, and watch that and choose the local broadcast. They were using a camera view tonight that was absolutely from up on 9. Like it was well above, and it was just like constantly moving. Like there was no still camera shot. It was in move. It was like and it wasn't a drone shot. It was just constantly moving from up on 9 the entire possession. And it's not like they tried it once or twice. They just kept going back to it, and it was awful. It was just like you couldn't really even see the ball going in the hoop because it was like such an overhead view, and it just was like every other possession they're going to blimp view. It was bad, and I felt like they were messing with me, or like the director lost a bet, or they were getting paid by the camera company to like most minutes used on camera. But it was an awful television experience. And maybe that's why I didn't really like what Wembanyama did tonight, because I didn't see him out there. I was too distracted. Ridiculous camera view. It was pretty upsetting.
That sounds horrible.
It was truly a traumatic experience. It does remind me of the first video game I ever played. Shout out to Sega Genesis and Joe Montana's 94 Sports Talk Football, where they did have a view from a blimp, but their view from the blimp was just like little dots on the field, and some you could just play like in blimp mode. And just imagine 1994 Sega Genesis graphics. It was awful, but not as bad as the NBC Sports Boston view tonight. But shout out to Joe Montana Sports Talk Football. Opening jump ball, Wemby, KP wins. KP's pumped and jacked. That was cool. I know Pop's not there tonight because Pop, I believe, had some sort of medical thing. I don't remember exactly what it was, so I won't speak to specifics. But it made me yearn for the times of yesteryear, because anytime the Spurs would come to town and they would do Pop's pregame availability, this was back in the days before there was interview rooms. They were just like the coach would get like in the hallway and the media would assemble. Pop always made sure to like stand next to the thing on the hallway in the Celtics facility next to John Havlicek, because he just liked John Havlicek, and he would just hold court. And it was just like every reporter was just like giddy there as a basketball fan. And Pop was just a dick. He was like very smart, but he was just like kind of rude, and everyone just ate it up. And it was like something you look forward to was that Pop pregame media availability in the tunnel next to John Havlicek. And so I missed that. I yearn for that, and I hope Pop gets well soon. Sam Hauser tonight. We had an ordeal. We had an ordeal of Sam Hauser tonight. He had not one, not two, but 3 2-point shots to get him to his season total of 28. Was I a little hasty in predicting that he would get over 65 this year? Remains to be seen. He could go on a run in the second half. Was I furious when they wiped off one of those twos and ruled it a 3-point shot to give the Celtics one more point? No, furious seems like a strong word. I was mildly annoyed. Did I text Jay King about 2-point daddy Sam Hauser's pursuit of 65? Yes. Did he respond to me in that text message? No. Did he instead attack me in chat? Absolutely. And so I just have to say there's a whole ordeal tonight. Normally, I'm the one on chat. If it's during the game and you're in the Still Poddable chat and you see Still Poddable accounts talking, that's me. Multiple times, Jay King went in there to confuse the masses and call me an idiot on my own chat. And it's just like all of this because I was bold enough to predict Sam Hauser would have 65 2-point shots. Was it a dumb thing to predict? Yes, but let's not focus on that. Just focus on the ordeal I went through tonight. Emotional roller coaster. Sam Hauser, like Jay King mentioned, is in pursuit of 40% from three. Got to give him credit. Did a heave at the end of the first quarter. Not something you would do if you're in pursuit of that perfect percentage, but he's not a coward. And that's why we give credit to Sam Hauser, or White Craig, as has been dubbed. Has Luke Wilson been in a movie in the last 10 years, or is Justin Miller like commercials? For some reason, Andrew Santino was there. There was back-to-back plays where Luke Cornett had a badass dunk, and then Kristaps Porzingis had a badass dunk, and it was very cool. People were pumped and jacked. But then later, they showed a replay of Luke Cornett's dunk. It was like a putback dunk over someone, and Scal said he was giving credit to all of Australia, which I don't think makes any sense, because that's a reference to Aaron Baines's nakedness.
I do think that the Australians is like the fitness coaches, and I remember hearing
you can't cross those metaphors.
No, like I think that the like there are literally like the fitness coaches for the Celtics are Australian guys.
Oh, I know. And they always give credit to the Australians for being more athletic, but you can't say the phrase all of Australia because that has clear implications in the Celtics world when Tommy Heinsohn, for those unfamiliar, Tommy Heinsohn was remarking on how large Aaron Baines was. And he said, yeah, I saw him in the shower the other day. That guy's bigger than all of Australia. And so you can't come back and use the phrase all of Australia to describe anything Boston Celtics related unless you're talking about Aaron Baines' hog.
All right, I will add all of Australia t-shirts to the list of merch that we will talk about and then never make.
That sounds good. 7 years after Aaron Baines plays on the Celtics is the perfect time for the all of Australia merch. Scal was being horny, asking for when Megan Thee Stallion was going to come to a game, and I just respected him being so public about it. Peyton Pritchard banked a 3 from the corner, which is something I've done in a pickup game, and you feel kind of like an idiot, but kudos to Peyton. Kristaps Porzingis got double teamed and did a fancy flick pass over his head to a no look to Al Horford, kicked it to the corner. I believe Peyton Pritchard knocked down the 3. I've never really seen KP do that much fancy passing, especially when double teamed, so I give him credit for that. Derek White's a terrible actor. He's in this some commercial for a bank, and then he was like, "What? You're giving away these interest rates? What? You get free Wi-Fi too." And it made no sense. But then like he was on a basketball court, and then they like pulled away and showed him on a green screen, and it was just like, why'd you like? I don't know. It was a very confusing ad. I will not be using their banking services, but I like Derek White as a person. And then the final junk of the night. Did you see the Super Bowl ad? And now the ad they're running, the Dung Kings commercial with Ben Affleck. Yeah. Unfortunately, Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah.
It's going to make me go to Dunkin' less. It's having the exact opposite effect. And there's a practical matter is that I have a lifelong beef with Donnie Wahlberg. It's not a beef because he has no idea who I am. But
it's a one-sided beef. It's still a beef.
It's a one-sided beef. I just get very frustrated that he's our biggest celebrity fan. And I've never, hand up, I've never watched Blue Bloods. Maybe I'm wrong about Donnie. Maybe I'm judging him purely based on New Kids on the Block alone. And being a no-talent hack from there. But maybe Blue Bloods is fantastic. Maybe that's on me. I'll admit my biases. But these Dung King ads, just like they're going to the well a little bit too much. It's like a step above the Vistaprint ads with the terrible Boston accents. It's just bad news bears. And here's the thing. I love Dunkin'. I drink a Dunkin' iced coffee every day. Every day. And here's the issue. Until about a week ago, there was the $5 meal deal. And this is just free advertising for Dunkin'. So maybe in the end they've beaten me at my own game. But let me tell you, $5 meal deal. You can get a medium iced coffee and 2 snack wraps, $5. Boom. Easy. Can do that every morning. It's waiting for me. I order on the app. I pick it up. I go right to work. Then they switched over to this Dung King meal deal, which is for $6. You can get a medium iced coffee, a breakfast sandwich, and those little home fries things. Here's my issue. They put it in this very colorful box that makes it look like a Happy Meal. I can't be carrying around that Happy Meal box walking into my lawyer job. Like it's fine for me to have my Dunkin' iced coffee in my bag and my 2 snack wraps, but I can't be carrying around this little Happy Meal purple and gold, not gold, but purple and orange Happy Meal fun box, trying to be a legitimate lawyer in the city of Philadelphia. And so maybe my anger is just to how humiliated I felt holding that box one day. And it's nothing at all to do with Donnie Wahlberg. But I'm just saying I'm out on the Dung Kings and the Dung Queens. Just give me my normal snack wrap.
I will forever. I hate that Vistaprint ad so much, and I hate it for 2 reasons. One is because I stream these games. I watch it like on the NBC Sports app on my TV. And so if there's an ad, I'm going to see it 700 times throughout the night because I only get 3 ads and they just repeat. And the ad was terrible and I hated it. But I also hated it because I auditioned for it and I didn't get it. So yeah, it was like the ad sucked. And I could, every time I saw it, I was like, oh, that's money I didn't get. I could have been in this terrible ad.
All right, we're going to do a new segment. I guess also presented by Prizepicks. It's going to say, Sean, audition for that ad again. Say that card stock is fantastic. Like you were in the Vistaprint ad.
Well, do I have to do it in the worst Boston accent I can imagine, or should I do it in a decent one?
Well, let's hear.
All right, well, we'll just see. Okay.
First, do your normal Boston accent.
All right. Man, that card stock's fantastic.
Oh, that's pretty good. All right, now let's do hilariously dumb, clownish version of a Boston accent.
Oh God, that card stock is fantastic.
Oh my gosh!
I should have.
Is that how you auditioned?
They should have cast me. That is how I actually. I think I did one full take with an accent and then did the entire thing again, like just how I normally talk. To be like, I could do either, and you got to show range. Yeah, no, they didn't pick me.
That's too bad. I gotta love anyone who's watching live on Twitter right now. First time tuning into the show. This show's about the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics beat the San Antonio Spurs 116-103 tonight. Jason Tatum's fantastic 32 points. Kristaps Porzingis, I mentioned to start, was just also great. They got him on a lot of one-on-one matchups in the post. He scored 29 points. Derek White had 19. Pritchard with 10 off the bench. Sam Hauser, 2 2-point shots, 2 3-point shots, 12 points. Just a solid performance from the Celtics all around. This is the Poddable post-game show. We get a little bit more wacky on this version of the program. But, we have a lot of different offerings here on Still Poddable. We are Monday through Friday, Boston Celtics podcast. And so this is more of the fun edition after the post-game show. But you also, part of the crew, Jay King from The Athletic, Brian B. Rob from MassLive.com. They'll be giving you the hard-hitting basketball analysis. They're also in the locker room. They're on the road trips with the teams. They know the players. They know the coaches. And so they give their insight there as well. So if you enjoy the program, if you enjoy the Poddable postgame, if you enjoy more of the hard-hitting X's and O's, nerdy basketball talk, come on down to patreon.com/stillpoddable. We're having a great time. Football season is over. It's time to lock in on the Celtics. Well, not right now. You got a week, but it's time to take that week to re-lock in on the Celtics as they go for the playoff push and go for Banner 19. Very much appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll be back more. I believe Jay King's got a special guest tomorrow. It could be Tim Bontemps. I don't think it will be, but it could be because we've had him in the past. And so join it in, and then we'll be back next week after the All-Star game to get you ready for the final third of the season. We really appreciate you guys tuning in to this episode of Still Poddable.
Still Poddable, Still Poddable. The Boston Celtics, Still Poddable, Still Poddable. Oh, yeah.
Slow down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.